Hi guys, my name is Bas and welcome to the second episode of my R Studio tutorials right here on YouTube. Glad to see you all back here. If you want, you can check out the previous episode. I do recommend so because I'll be making them in chronological order from easy to difficult. So if you haven't watched the first video, then please go and do so. It will be helpful in understanding the second video. Furthermore, if this video is helpful to you, then please leave a like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. I want to make this channel grow as much as possible, so every little subscriber would help. So what are we going to do today? Well, two things. First of all, we're going to take a look at the different variable types, being numeric, logical, character, and vector. And afterwards, we're going to have a look at datasets. How do you open the datasets in R, the ones which R has already in store for you, and how do we import datasets from Excel and SPSS. But let's get started with, for example, how to write down numeric values, variables. Like I said in the first episode, if you use a hashtag in front of what you're writing, then R will recognize that it is not a code, but a note to yourself. So a numeric variable would be, for example, age, and would consist of the combination, so the C, the combination of 28, 27, and 26. That would mean that there are three variables, that there are three numeric values in that variable. And over here on the right, in the environment section, you can see that the new variable age is numeric and it has 3 levels. So that is a numeric variable, but we can also write down a logical variable. And a logical variable is either true or false. So the name of this variable would, for example, be over 26. So over 26 years, and would consist of the combination of true. In the first person was 28 years old. So is he over 26 years old? Yes. So the first one is true. You can either write out true like this, or you can just use the capital letter T, in which I choose over here. Then the second person is 27 years old. So is he over 26 years? Yes. And the third person, is he over 26 years old? No, because he's only 26. So he is false. So you can write down an F or false completely. But I'll just stick to the F. Then you select the code and run it. And then on the right, in the environment section, you can see the new over 26 years variable is a logical variable with true, true, false. Then the third variable is the character variable, which in this case is going to be marriage. Marriage vector. Marriage character, because it's going to be a character variable. And it consists of the combination of married, single, divorced, and widowed. Well, don't forget to use commas. And like I said in the previous episode, make sure that if you need to use small letters, that you actually use those, and if you need to use capital letters, that you use those. Because if you mix up small letters and capital letters, then you'll get one error after the other, and it's not a good time. So we selected code. It consists of 4 categories: married, single, divorced, and widowed. And then we press Ctrl Enter. And then on the right, we can now see the marriage character variable being a character variable consisting of the 4 categories: married, single, divorced, and widowed. So the fourth and final type of variable in R is the vector variable. And because if you want to do actual analyses with, for example, the marriage variable, you can't do that if it's a character variable. You need to turn it into a vector variable. So once more, if you have a categorical variable, so for example, the marriage, because it has 4 categories, married, single, divorced, and widowed, you first need to turn it into a vector variable. And how do you do that? Well, it's really, really simple. The new variable is going to be called marriage vector, and it is going to consist of s.vector, and then the name of the old character variable, which was marriage character. And then you press Ctrl Enter. And then if we go to the right to the global environment, we can see that the marriage factor is now a vector variable with 4 levels, being divorced, married, single, and divorced, married, single, and widowed. So those are the 4 types of variables in R. I hope it was useful. If you have any questions about this, then please leave them in the comment section down below. Then the second section of today, we're going to have a look at datasets. And R already provides a lot of datasets for you. So in the last episode, I described how you need to install and open packages. And what we're going to use right now is the tidyverse package. So if you haven't installed it already, you'd say install point packages, and then between quotation marks tidyverse. But because I have already installed it, you need to just reload it now, and you do that by using library, and then in this case tidyverse. And we're also gonna open a library, and then between brackets L, it's always a difficult name, dplyr, Dippler. So you select those two and run them if you haven't run them already, and now they are opened. So now you can make use of the datasets found in those packages. And if you want to take a look at all the packages, you simply type data and nothing between the brackets. And if you then select the code and run it, then in the source screen, a new window will show up with all the possible data sets that you can use. For example, chick weight is a data set which I use quite often. And if you then scroll down, then you can see that also the Dippler package included some data sets. For example, the Star Wars data set, which is very, very useful, and I'll use in a second. You can see which data sets there are in FORCATs, in ggplot2, etc., etc. So there's a lot of data sets that you can practice with, provided to you by R. So it's simple. You just install the code for Dippler and for tidyverse, and then you get all these data sets to practice with. So it's actually quite easy. Well, we're going to close this screen again and go back to this one. And if you want to take a look at a specific data set and work in it, then, for example, we will use view and then Star Wars. We want to view the Star Wars dataset and press Ctrl Enter. Then the new dataset called Star Wars will open. And you can see the names, the height, the mass of all the characters. And let's say that we only want to take a look at the height and the mass variable. How do we do that? Well, you first say which dataset you want to work with. So in this case, Star Wars. And then you use the pipeline function, like I explained last episode. It's Ctrl-Shift-M. And then you press Enter. And then we would say select, because we only want to select the 2 variables, height and mass. If you then and then another time the pipeline function, and then we select view, because we want to see we want to view only these 2 sections. If you then press Ctrl Enter, then you can see that from the Star Wars dataset, it has only selected the height and the mass of these characters. So that's how you open the datasets which R has already provided by you. You can also import and download datasets from, for example, SPSS or Excel. You go to File in the top left corner, then Import Dataset. Then you can choose from SPSS, for example, and then go to the upper right and press Browse. And then if you go to the file you need, then, for example, this vector analysis dataset, which is now retrieving the data from, yes, you can see here that it is a complete SPSS dataset with gender and age and working hours, etc., etc. And if you then press Import, then it has now imported the dataset into R. And we can also, if you go back to the source, you can also select only this one. We can also select, just like we did with the Star Wars set. We can also select vector analysis TT dataset. So we select this dataset, then press the pipe function, and then we say that we want to select only the variable age for the variable sex. It's in Dutch. My apologies for that. And then you select the code and you run it. And then in the lower left corner, you can see, so like this. In the lower left corner, you can see that for the dataset, the factor analysis dataset, it has only selected the sexe, and it has shown you the first 10 values, which are all men. So that's how to import a SPSS dataset. How to import an Excel dataset is exactly the same. You go to File, you go to Open, to Import Dataset, and then from Excel, and then you press in the top right, you press Browse, and then you select, if you go to the correct map, select, for example, this dataset, which consists of only one question, so it's not a really good one. And then you would press Import, and then it has opened the Excel dataset into R. So we have today discussed what the 4 types of of variables are, which are numeric variables, logical variables, character variables, and vector variables. I've shown you how to open datasets provided to you by R, which are hidden in packages. And I've also shown you how to import data from Excel and from SPSS. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, then leave them in the comment section down below. And if this video was helpful to you, then please help me out by subscribing to this YouTube channel. It would be very, very much appreciated because I want to make this channel grow as much as possible. I'll be back very soon with more R videos. And for now, guys, see you on the next tutorial. Ciao.